Welcome to the Finish Line with Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura, and the Finish Line is all about finishing our quilt tops. Now, I just made this cute little rose quilt last week, and I really want to get it quilted. Now, I am going to be using a wool batting, so I want to talk a little bit about the wool batting and why I've chose the wool batting. And then I am going to be quilting this with a whole variety of different circles. Now, you can free motion the circles, but I am going to be using ruler work. Now, chances are this quilt will be a wall quilt, a wall hanging of some sort. And because of that, I've chosen a wool batting. It is Hobbs 100% wool. Now, the wool batting does have a little bit more loft to it. It's sort of more cloud-like. And it is this soft beige. It is very luxurious, it is lightweight, it's also very breathable because it is wool. Now, you will need to quilt this about 4 inches apart, but it is machine washable after in cold water. And why I chose the wool is it's great for wall hangings. It doesn't have a memory. So when this is folded up, and then I have taken it out of storage and I've hung it up, those folds will just fall out. And with that wool being just a little puffier, these flowers and all of my quilting is going to be very dimensional. My quilting is going to be an all-over design, but what I would like to duplicate is the circle inside of a circle inside of a circle. So what I would do is I would quilt a large circle first. Where I stop, I'm going to go in and do another size and another size. So I'm always going to be starting and stopping at this one point. Once I get there, I can go and start another circle. I do have that ruler foot on for my machine. I am going to be using a nice white to match that background fabric. And I'm going to start with one of my center flowers and do 3 of those circles and then travel out. So I've pulled up the bobbin thread. I have that circle, and I'm not worried if it's going in the exact place. As a matter of fact, I don't want it in the exact place. If they're all off, then they look like they belong all off. And you'll find that when you're doing a circle, you will prefer one direction over another, and that's fine too. So I'm going to go all the way around. Right to where I started. Now change circles and go around. And one more for the center. Now, if you have a big spot here and you don't like it, by all means, add a 4th one in. So we have all of those perfect circles that are not stacked on top of another. From here you can decide, do you want to start a big circle or do a little one? I'm going to use a little spacing guide that has a 1/4 inch on it, just to make sure that I am not stitching over a previous line. So I'm going to do my first circle. And do my next circle. This really does cover a large space with a little bit of quilting. And you can see how that batting has made it a little bit like a trapunto. I'm going to travel back a little bit and start my next circle here. And this time I'm going to start with that big ruler. And I do want to have them quite close together, but I do not want to go over the stitching. So I don't mind taking time and checking so that it's close, but not stitched over. And we can even use that 1/2 inch if we'd like. And around we go. Once again, this is not the area that I want to stop. So I'm going to travel to a new stop and starting point. And it's just a matter of doing as many circles within one circle that gives you that nice finished look. And one more puffy circle done. Now this quilt, I did do a flange. That flange was just to give definition between all of my fabrics. So I am still going to just treat it as a regular flat fabric. So I'm going to stitch over it. And that way I can continue these circles right through to this border. As I am quilting, I will be quilting off of the edge of the quilt. Once that binding's on, you're only going to see a portion of it, but your eye will think it's a full circle because the rest of them are full circles. Just keep traveling and making your circles as you go along. Once I get this binding done, this quilt will be available for sale on my website. But right now, let's get it quilted. There are some areas that I felt was a little bit too big, so I added one single circle. And that fills in those little spaces. So I have circles with 5 circles within each other, some single ones to fill in some spaces. They're all different types of circles. So they really do duplicate the shape of this. And look at all of those fun circles in the back. It really does have a lot of dimension, and you really can see those circles. Now that the binding is done, you can see a little bit more where this has more of a trapunto look. It's not as flat. That wool batting means this is going to hang nice, and it's nice and light. And there's the flange that gives it that extra dimension. What I like to do at the top of the quilts along the back is I just sew these triangles. I stitch them into the binding before I put the binding on. Then when I put the binding on and I roll it over and I stitch it down, I have an area here from one side all the way to the other that I can put a pole so that it can be hung up. It's sort of my version of a hanging sleeve that looks a lot nicer. What a fresh, fun, summer wall hanging. Now it's big enough you could do it as a small lap quilt. It is 42.5 inches by 51.5 inches. So wall hanging or lap quilt, no matter what, it is definitely a quilt that says it is summertime. I'll put some links in the description so you can follow along if you want to make the quilt, and I'll put a link in the store just in case you're interested in purchasing this. And as always, thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I have a newsletter. It's all free under Sew Very Easy. And be sure to make every day a Sewtacular day. Bye for now.